with a broad blue brush that is going to culminate in a democratic society, a Democratic Party ruling and reigning over the Republicans here in the state of South Carolina forever. Yes, it's a conviction. But we're not gathered here just to celebrate the many great Democrats of South Carolina. We're really gathered here to celebrate a future, a democracy of the future. We're all here today, gathered to represent something new and exciting in South Carolina. We haven't had a democracy, a democratic presence, representation, a strong party in South Carolina. But we're here to say enough is enough. Now is the time to turn that over. Now is the time to get rid of the Republican politics, the politics of no, the politics that have forgotten about the voice of the people, the politics that have allowed the people to be trod on, pressed down, and oppressed for too long. And now, as Democrats, we got together here to say enough is enough. When I say that we can turn this red state blue, many people say, man, must be dreaming. But to that I say, you might say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I'm standing here in a room today full of dreamers, people who have the audacity to dream, and the nerve to believe, and the willpower and the wherewithal to fight in order to make this dream of a blue state happen. I'm sick and tired of this red state. Anybody else with me? A red state where the red stands for the South Carolinians' blood that flows in the streets because our Republican legislatures refuse to pass stronger laws that would prevent domestic violence. A state where red stands for the innocent lives that are lost each year because our Republican governor refuses to expand Medicaid and save South Carolinian lives. A state where red represents a budget that closes hospitals, defunds schools, takes away from the elderly and our veterans, and promotes bias and hatred on the basis of race, creed, and gender orientation. A state where that same red represents the living death of hundreds of thousands of good people who are buried in poverty and debt. People who have more money left at the end of their money than they have money left at the end of their month. Because the Republicans refuse to acknowledge that no one can survive in 2016 or 725. It's a state where red stands for the tears of women who should have access to quality prenatal care and other reproductive health services. But because of Tim Scott and the Republican Party's misrepresentation of the truth, funding for Planned Parenthood is being taken away. That must stop. South Carolina, where red stands for the innocent blood that flows freely from the bodies of our sons and daughters, wives, husbands, and family members, because Tim Scott and the Republican Party refused to close the loopholes in ready background checks by passing common sense legislation that would not infringe on Second Amendment rights, but would keep guns out of the hands of those who should not have them. I tell you today that Tim Scott and the Republican Party have the blood on their hands of the 9 innocent men and women who were slain at Mother Emanuel AME Church because they were killed with a gun purchased through a loophole that Scott and his party have still to this day refused to vote to close. That blood is on their hands. And it's also witnessed by the blood of many others in South Carolina and across our nation who die each day simply because getting their hands on a gun today is easier to buy a cell phone. There is blood on the hands of Tim Scott and the Republican Party. Let me tell you this. Let me make it perfectly clear. I am not Tim Scott. And it's time for the power to return You see, I wear the red scarf. I wear the red scarf, and on it is written the word, enough. And I wear it because I started in the Stop the Violence movement, where the red stood for the blood that was shed in the streets, and the enough is enough bloodshed in the streets. But my fellow Democrats, I say to you today, although it's a red flag with a black background, it stands for something different today as I stand here before you. It stands for the red state that we live in today, that has oppressed people literally because it refuses to hear the voice of the people. And that red background that we have here today will be my campaign flag. And it's because it's time to say enough is enough to the Republican Party, to Nikki Haley, to Tim Scott, and to anybody else who denies the voice of the people. Enough is enough. We will not have it. We will move on. We will take Washington. We will be victorious in November, and we will win. Thank you. I ask you for your support and your voice for your vote in this coming election. Together we stand, and there's no force that can stop us.
Let's give a hand to our congressional candidates and our candidate for the United States Senate in this election cycle. I'm telling you, you can stack up the degrees on this stage any day compared to the clowns on the other side. These guys are ready to represent us in Washington.